For this project, any category 3 yarn will work, but I used a skein and a half of baby burnout sport yarn in baby blue. As for tools, a 4mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Watch to the end of the video to learn how to enter this week's giveaway. We're using 2 stitches for this project, and they will be as follows: chain, slip stitch, and single crochet. This tutorial is for a size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this cardigan started, we are first going to grab our category 3 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're going to grab our 4mm hook and start off by making a chain that goes from our underarm down to where we want the bottom of this cardigan to be, keeping in mind that this will come down to a point within the front as well. So I'm going to start off by making a chain of 13 inches or 33 centimeters, or that comes out to a chain of 60. And now that we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1. And from here, we're going to insert our hook into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, with a single crochet. Let's do the next single crochet together. We're going to take a look at this next chain, insert our hook into there, we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to keep putting 1 single crochet into every chain that we have, going all the way down, until we have just 1 chain left at the very end, and then we're going to meet each other back so that we can do an increase of 2 single crochets into there. And don't mind all these stitch markers, these are just here to help keep track of numbers. So we have just made our way all the way down with our first row of single crochets, and we have left our last chain so that we can do our increase of 2 together. So all we're going to do is insert our hook into that last chain with 1 single crochet, and then into that same chain with another single crochet, and that is our increase. And from here, go ahead and grab a stitch marker, because we're going to want to know which side is our top and which side is our bottom. So I'm going to be inserting my stitch marker just into that last stitch that we have, and this stitch marker that we have right here is going to indicate that this is the bottom of our top. So what we're going to do from here is do a chain up of 1 and flip our work, and now we're going to do a bunch of front post single crochets while maintaining an increase on both ends until we're ready to get started on the shoulder portion. So let's just get that started together. So going into our second row, we're going to be going in with a bunch of front post single crochets, and we do have to maintain an increase on both ends. So I'll show you guys how to do a front post single crochet first, and then how to do our increase. So what we're going to do is ignore this first stitch that we have right here along the edge. This is our extra stitch that we have right here, and then we're going to go into this post that we have with a front post single crochet. So all that's going to be is inserting our hook not on top of these loops like we normally go into, but we're going to go behind that post. So we're going to insert our hook in through one side, and then we're going to bring it through the other side, and then we're going to single crochet like normal. And then since this end is an increase along with the other end, we're going to do 1 more into that same post. So we're going to insert our hook behind that same post that we just went into, and then we're going to single crochet. And that is our increase of 2 front post single crochets. Let's just do a couple regular front post single crochets together, and then I'll show you guys how to do an increase one more time at the other end of our work. But don't forget that once when we have those in, insert your stitch marker so that we know which side is the top and which side is the bottom. So going into that next post that we have, it's going to be this one right here. We're going to insert our hook underneath that next stitch that we have, and then bring it through the other side. Once we have that, we're going to single crochet just like normal, and then we're going to do 1 more together. So go ahead and insert your hook into that next stitch that we have, but be sure to bring it through the other side of that post, and then we're going to single crochet just like normal. And we're going to continue to do that, going all the way down until we have just 1 post left, and then we're going to be doing our increase together. So I'll meet you guys back at the end of this row. Now that we've made our way all the way down with our first row of front post single crochets, we're going to do our increase of 2 into that last stitch as well. So what we're going to do is go into that last stitch with 1 front post single, just like how we started this row off, and then we're going to go in with 1 more into that same post. And then now that we have this weird little divot right here, so just to make sure that everything stays clean, we're just going to single crochet into that divot that we have. So go ahead and insert your hook into there. And then single crochet to make sure that we have a nice clean edge. Once we have that, we're just going to repeat doing the same thing. So we're going to do one more increase of 2 front post single crochets together, and then I'll let you guys keep going from there. So what we're going to do from here is do a chain up of 1 and flip our work. And into this first stitch that we have, we're going to go in with our front post single. So we're going to go into that first single crochet post with 1 front post single, and then into that same one with another front post single. And from here we're going to be going in with 1 front post single, going all the way down. Once we make our way down to that end into our last post stitch, we're going to do another increase of 2 front post singles, single crochet into that last stitch, do a chain up of 1, and then repeat. And we're going to keep going with this pattern until we have a portion that is wide enough that goes from mid underarm to the front of our body. And then once we have that, I will meet you guys back just to show you guys how to extend it so that this can reach up our shoulder. But just make sure that when we do meet each other back, we are ending on the top end. So remember, when we inserted our stitch marker into the bottom half, we're going to be ending on the opposite end. But other than that, I'll meet you guys back once we have our few rows done. So I've just made my way back with my underarm portion that went from mid underarm over to the front of our body. And I came out with a total of 15 rows, or if we're measuring it width-wise, I have a total of 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters. And then once we have this, we all should have ended along the top side, because remember we inserted our stitch markers into the bottom. From here, we're going to take a measurement from this top corner going all the way up to our shoulder. And then whatever that measurement is, we're going to make a chain of that. So I have already measured mine out, and I'm going to need a total of 6.5 inches or 7 centimeters. So that's going to come out to a chain of 30. So all I'm going to do is right from this corner, start off by doing my chain. I'll meet you guys back once we have that so that we can do the rest. Now that we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is go in with the row of single crochets all the way down until we get to the body portion, and then we're going to continue doing our front post single crochets from there. So just to get this next row started, we're going to block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1. Once we have that, we are going to be inserting our hook into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook with a single crochet. Just like that, and we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every chain that we have, going all the way back down. And then once we make our way over to the body portion, I'll meet you guys back just to remind you guys that we're going back in with front post single crochets from there. So we just made our way down our chain, and what we're going to do from here, now that we're at the body, we're just going to go in putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch, except for into the last stitch, which is where we're doing our bottom portion. This is going to maintain with our increase. So just to do the first one together into this body portion, we're just going to go into that front post with a regular front post single crochet, just 1. And we're going to keep doing this going all the way down, and then once we make our way to the end, and this bottom portion will be maintained with our increase of 2 front post single crochets. Once we make our way to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work. Our first stitch is going to be another increase of 2 front post single crochets, and then once we make our way all the way back up to the top of this chain portion that we just made for ourselves, this is going to stay blunt. So we're just going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then go back down with more front post single crochets. And we're going to keep going like that until we have a portion that is long enough until it's about an inch or 3 centimeters away from the base of our neck. So let's just show you guys what this is supposed to look like, and then I'll let you guys move on from there. So this is my other front panel all finished up. I still have a little bit more to go for the second one that we're doing together. But like I said, along this top end, this is going to remain blunt. And then along this bottom end where we inserted our stitch marker a couple clips ago, we're going to maintain this increase until we get the desired length that we want. But I'll meet you guys back when I have my size, and then I'll let you guys know the amount of rows and the measurements as well. So we're back, and we have just finished up going in with one of our front panels. And this little chunk that I have up here was a total of 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters, or in total I have 5 inches or 13 centimeters. But once when we have this one piece all done, we're going to do the same exact thing that we just did here one more time, and I already have mine finished up. So this is what we should have. And then once we have this, we're going to start working on the back piece. And the back piece is going to start off the exact same way that we started this piece, so I'm just going to talk you guys through it. So getting started on the back piece, we're actually going to start off by making the same amount of chains that we did for our underarm portion, because we need to seam this up once when we are all finished up. And then also we're going to go in with the same amount of rows that we did for this underarm portion right here. And then from there, we are also going to make the same amount of chains from our underarm portion going all the way up to our shoulder. The only difference once we have this part all done is that we're going to have this solid portion going all the way across our back. But we do need to maintain the increases for the same amount of rows that we have for this front panel. So basically, make another front panel and then I'll meet you guys back to show you guys what to do after that. So we're back and we have just finished up going in with the first section of our back piece. And I have all three of these pieces just so you guys know that all of these three that we should have all look the same. But once we have this portion all finished up, from here we're just going to go straight across our back so that we can get started on the other underarm portion that we're going to have. The easiest way to do this is to take one of our front panels, flip it over so that it looks like a back piece but missing the middle portion, and we're just going to fill in this middle portion with whatever measurement that we need. And like I said earlier, we aren't going to be doing any increases or decreases into the top or on the bottom. This portion is just going to go straight across because we're going to have a little curve for the butt portion. So I'm just going to keep going with this next portion and then I'll come back and let you guys know how many rows I end up having and then also how we're going to do this portion as well. Just make sure when we meet each other back that we have ended on the same side that we have ended on for the front panels. So I've ended at the top. I'll meet you guys back at the top of my work. So we are back and I have just finished up going in with the majority of our back piece. I just don't have this underarm portion first, but I did have a total of 86 rows counting from the beginning, and that does come out to a total of 12 inches or 31 centimeters just for this solid portion, or in total 13.5 inches or 34 centimeters. And from here we're going to do pretty much the same thing that we did for the front panel, which was our underarm portion and then a little bit of our body portion so that we can maintain this scoop that we have along the bottom, like so. But since we are starting on the other side, we aren't going to be doing these as increases, we're actually going to be doing them as decreases. So let me just give you guys a visual of what we're going to be doing next. So since we have this, we should have all ended on the same side that we ended on when we did our front panel. So if you guys cut and tied for your front panel along the top, we should be all at the top, or if you guys did the same thing on the bottom, y'all should be on the bottom. But if you guys just want to make sure that everything would fit nicely, you guys can grab one of your front panels and then just place it along the outside and put it up to yourselves, just making sure that these two corners that we have right here fit along the outer edges of our shoulder. And then if it does, then we are ready to continue on with our other panel that we have. So since I have started all the way up here, I'm going to be working my way all the way down, putting one front post single crochet into every stitch, but leaving the last two because we are going to have to do a decrease of 2 front post single crochets. If you guys did end on the bottom, then stay put. I'll show you guys how to do a decrease of 2 front post single crochets within the next clip, but that's what we're going to be doing for the same amount of rows that we have right here for our front panel when it comes to this upper body portion. And then once we have that, we will be doing the underarm portion together as well. So I'll meet you guys back once when we are all ready to get started on our decreases, and then I'll show you guys what to do from there. Alright, so we have just made our way down to our last 2 front post single crochets that we have, and we're going to be doing a decrease of 2 into those 2 posts. So all this is going to be exactly the same way that we've been doing our regular ones, but we're going to be going into 2 posts instead of just 1. So we're going to insert our hook into that second to last post, and instead of bringing it through the other side, we're going to bring it underneath that second one as well and bring our hook through the other side. So we should have our original loop on our hook. This is our first post, this is our second post. And then from here we're going to single crochet just like normal. So we're going to yarn over, pull through those 2 posts, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's our single crochet just like normal. And then just like before, we should have this last loop at the very end. So we're just going to single crochet into there to make our ends even. And then that's how we do a decrease of 2 front post single crochets. Now, depending on where you guys are at, you guys are either going to work your way all the way up, putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch. Once when you guys make your way to the end, do a chain up of 2 and then work your way back down, leaving the last 2 and then doing another decrease of 2 front post single crochets, making sure it's all on one side. But either way, doesn't matter where you guys are at, I'm going to show you guys how to do one more right now. So all I'm going to do, since I ended on this side, is do a chain up of 1 and flip my work. Now that my work is flipped, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to insert our hook into that next front post, and instead of bringing it through the other side, we're going to insert our hook underneath that next post as well. So we should have our loop and 2 posts, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through those 2 posts, should have 2 loops. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2. And then from here, I will be going all the way down, putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the blunt end, we're going to do just a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then bring it back down, leaving the last 2, and then repeating this cycle for the same amount of rows that we have for the shoulder portion as our front panel. So let me just show you guys one more time. So don't mind all these stitch markers, but what we're going to do is continue on doing the decreases along the bottom end until we have the same amount of rows that we have right here for our shoulder portion, and then I'll meet you guys back so that we can do our underarm portion together. And since we all started doing our decreases on the same row that we ended doing our increases on for all of our front panels, we should end at the bottom so we can get started on our underarm portion together. So we are back and we have just finished up going in with this little decrease portion where the top of our work was all solid. And now we can start going in with our underarm portion, the same underarm portion that will match the one that we did when we first started off this section. So the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure that we have all ended along the bottom, which if we started where our previous section ended, we should all be on the bottom so that we can work our way up until we have the same amount of loops as our chain that we did on the other side, and then we can start doing our decreases along the top and the bottom. So really quickly, just as an example, when we were doing our underarm portion for the other side, we went in with these underarm rows and then we did a chain that shot straight up to our shoulders. So whatever the amount of chains that we made for this portion right here, we're going to take it over to the side that we're currently working on, and then we're going to count down the same amount of stitches that we did as chains. So I made a chain of 30, so I counted down 30 and I have inserted my stitch marker into that 30th loop. And then from here, since I'm along the bottom, I'm going to maintain doing my decrease of 2 front post single crochets, work my way all the way up until we hit that stitch marker right here, and then from there I'm going to do a chain up of 1 and then do decreases along both sides going all the way down until we have the same amount of rows that we have along this underarm portion. So if we just want to use this as an example, this is our front panel, it'll look pretty much like this. So I'm just going to do my decrease of 2 front post single crochets going all the way up until I hit my stitch marker, and then I'll meet you guys back just so that we can get started on the decrease portion together for this top portion for our underarm, and then I'll let you guys go from there. Alright, so we have just made our way all the way up with our front post single crochets until we hit our stitch marker. And then once we have this, we're just going to start off this underarm portion together. We're just going to be doing decreases on both sides until we end up having the same amount of rows as we have for the underarm portion that we started off with. So let's just do this first decrease together. So getting started on our next row, what we're going to do from here is do a chain up of 1 and flip our work. And then we're going to start off by doing a decrease of 2 front post single crochets together. So we're going to insert our hook behind that first front post and then also behind that second front post. Just like how we've been doing, this is just a quick refresher, but we're going to yarn over and then pull through those 2 post loops that we have on our hook, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and then the rest of this is going to be just like normal. Put 1 front post single crochet into every stitch that we have until we have just 2 loops left. Do a decrease of 2 front post single crochets into there and then single crochet into that last loop. Do a chain up of 1 and then start and end with a decrease of 2 front post single crochets. And go ahead and just keep going until we have the same amount of rows as our underarm portion as the front panels and the other side for our underarm portion that we have for our back. And then I'll meet you guys back once we have all of that done so that we can get started on the rest. Alright, so 114 rows later, or a total of 17 inches or 43 centimeters later, I am all finished with my back panel. And what we're going to do from here is actually just go along the top with a row of single crochet just to clean it up and also make it easier for us to connect the front piece to the back piece, and then we can get started on the rest. So I already have the front panels finished up, so I'm just going to show you guys what that looks like, and then we'll do the first few together and then I'll let you guys go from there. So all this next portion is going to be is just inserting our hook into our corner loop and then putting 1 single crochet into every side single crochet row that we have going all the way down. As you guys can see, we already have our front panels all finished up. It looks nice and clean and it's pretty simple. So let's just get this started together. So what we're going to do is take our 4mm hook and insert that into this top corner loop, making sure that we're only going in through the highest back portion or where our shoulder portion is. We're going to be inserting our yarn onto our hook. We're going to pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And just to do the first few together, our first single crochet row just so happens to be this divot right here. So we're going to insert our hook into that top loop and then single crochet. Let's do the next one as well. Our next side single crochet row is this raised one, so we're going to find whatever loop we can on top and then single crochet into there. We're just going to keep doing this, going all the way down. Once we make our way down to the other corner, we're going to do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then do the same thing that we just did here along the front panels, and then I'll meet you guys back so that we can seam everything up together. So we've just finished up going in with our single crochet section along all 3 of our panels that we have, and now from here all we're going to do is just seam up the top shoulder portion and then also this side portion that we have right here, and we're just going to be doing one of the front panels together, then I'll let you guys do the rest on your own. So let's just put this one away. We're going to grab our same hook and insert our hook into the corner loop of the front panel, then also into the corner loop of the back panel, making sure that our underarm portions are aligned. Once we have that, we are going to take our yarn, insert that onto our hook and pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. Once we have that, we're just going to be doing a single crochet, making sure we're going in through the front and the back panel at the same time. And then we're just going to keep doing that until we don't have any more loops left for the shoulder portion, and it's actually going to be the same exact thing for our sides. So let's just do the first few together. So going into the first available loop that we have into the front panel, we're going to insert our hook, and then also going into the next available loop we have into the back panel, go ahead and insert your hook into there. And from here, we're just going to single crochet everything together. Let's just do one more together and let you guys do the rest. So we're going to insert our hook into the first available loop into the front panel, and also into the next available loop we have into the back panel, and then single crochet. And we're going to keep doing this, going all the way down until we don't have any more loops left. Go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then do the same thing for our side portion. Just insert your hook into the corner and then single crochet all the way down, making sure we're going in through the front and the back panel at the same time. Once we have that, we're going to do the same thing that we did here to the other front panel that we have, just making sure that all of our seams are faced the same direction, and then I'll meet you guys back. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with our shoulder seam and our underarm seam, and we are now ready to get started on our sleeve. And don't mind this front border that I have, this was just a little bit of experimenting. We're actually going to do something different. And since I have one of my sleeves already all finished up, let's get started on the other side together. And the first thing we're going to do is just go around with a row of single crochet along the entirety of our armhole that we've left for ourselves. So how we're going to do that is first taking a look at the bottom portion of our armhole, and we're going to be inserting our hook into any of the loops that's right next to our seam. And from here we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, and we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch that we have, going all the way up and around. And then once when we get to these underarm portions right here, we're going to start and end with this. We're just going to eyeball it because there's not going to be any real loops for us to go into. Just make sure that it is the same amount of stitches that we have on one side as we'll have on the other. But I'll meet you guys back once we are all done with our single crochet row. So we have just made our way all the way around with our first single crochet row, and I have inserted some stitch markers in here just as a visual so we know where we're going to start doing our decreases and then where we're going to start doing our decreases into every other row. So when it comes to doing our underarm portion, we're going to start off by doing a decrease into every row that we have until we hit our stitch marker or where our body portion just shoots straight up for our shoulder. And then from the shoulder portion all the way up to the tip of our shoulder or where our shoulder seam is, that's when we're going to be doing an increase into every other row. And then once we hit that shoulder seam, we're going to work our way back down. But since we're working our way down, we're going to go in with a decrease into every other row. And then once when we hit our underarm portion, right underneath that, then we're going to be doing decreases into every single row, kind of like how we started, but in the reverse. But now that we have that all mapped out, now we can take a measurement from the bottom of our armhole down to where we want the length of our sleeve to be, keeping in mind we will have a cuff as well. And I have already measured mine out. I want my sleeve to be just a little bit shorter, keeping in mind that we will have a cuff as well. So I'm going to start off by making a chain of 38, or that comes out to 7 inches or 18 centimeters. So now that we have the chain for our sleeve, we're going to go in with our first row of single crochets. So what we're going to do is block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1. And then from here, we're going to go all the way down, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch that we have, making sure we're going into that first chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook. There we go. Putting 1 single crochet into each. And then I'll meet you guys back once we have just 1 chain left so that we can do an increase into that last chain and then connect it into the base. So we are back, and we have just gone all the way down with our first row of single crochets, and we have left our last chain just like how I said in the last clip so that we can do our increase into there together. So let's just put 2 single crochets into that last chain. there is 1, and then 1 more, there is 2. And from here we are now going to slip stitch it into the base. So all we're going to do is take a look at the next available loop. We're going to insert our hook into there, yarn over, and pull through everything. And now our first row of our single crochets is all finished up, and now we're going to work our way up to the next row, which it's going to start off with another slip stitch into the base. So we're going to slip stitch into that next available loop, flip our work, and now, just like the body, we're going to be going in with a bunch of front post single crochets. While going up to our first stitch marker, we're going to be maintaining doing our increases into the first stitches that we have that's right next to the base. So let's just do this first row together, and then I'll let you guys go, and I'll meet you guys back once we get to the stitch marker. So getting started on our next row, we're going to maintain doing our increase into this first post that's right next to the base. So into this first post, we're going to go in with a increase of 2 front post single crochets. We should already know how to do this. We're going to go in with 1 front post, and then into that same front post, go in with another single crochet. And we're just going to keep doing front post single crochets, putting 1 into every post, going all the way down. Once we reach the end, we are going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then continue to do front post single crochets going all the way down until we have just our last post left. Then we're going to do another increase of 2 front post single crochets, connect it into the base, flip our work, and then do the same thing going down while maintaining the increase. And then I will meet you guys back once we get to our first stitch marker. We have just finished up going in with our first portion of our sleeve where we did our increase into the stitches that we had right next to the base, once into every row, and we have hit our first stitch marker, and now we're ready to start working into the body portion. So what we're going to do from here, since we should all have ended on the outside, we're going to work our way in towards our body portion, and we're just going to slip stitch into that next available loop. We're going to slip stitch into the next one to work our way up to the next row, and then when we're working our way out for more front post single crochets, when we're working our way out, that is going to be when we do our increase of 2 front post single crochets. So from here, all I'm going to do is do a chain up of 1, go all the way down, putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch, and then I'll meet you guys back once when we connect it into the base, just to remind you guys where we're doing our increases one more time. So we're back, and we have just made our way all the way down, putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch, and then once when we have reached the base, we have slip stitched into that base, and then once we get here, we're going to slip stitch up the next available loop, flip our work, and then I'm just going to remind you guys that we're doing our increases, and then I'll let you guys do an increase into every other row going all the way up until we hit our shoulder seam. So from here, all I'm going to do is slip stitch into the next available stitch. I will flip my work and then just do an increase into the first post that we have into this row. So it is this one right here. We're going to go in with 1, 2 front post single crochets into that first stitch, and then we're going to go all the way down, putting 1 into every stitch. And go ahead and make your way all the way down, and I'll meet you guys back once we hit our stitch marker so that we can do the same thing that we did here, but instead of increases, we're going to go down with decreases. Alright, so we are back, and we have just made our way all the way up with our increase into every other row for one side of our sleeve, and we're actually going to do the same thing going down the other side, but instead of doing increases, we're going to go in with decreases. And from where I ended, I actually just finished off along the outside, and into the first row that we're doing, into this decrease section, we aren't going to be doing anything. It doesn't matter if you guys started up here or down here. We just want to make sure that the last row for our increase section and our first row for our decrease section have the same amount of loops. So it doesn't matter where you guys are at, go ahead and just put 1 front post single crochet into every stitch that we have, and then I'll meet you guys back so that we can get started on the decrease section. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with our next row of front post single crochets where we didn't do any increases or decreases into that row. And now that we have that finished up, the next row that we're going to do is going to be a row of decrease. So it doesn't matter if you guys ended over here or if you guys ended on the other side. The next row that we're going to do is going to be our decrease row, and then we're just going to maintain that pattern going all the way down of doing a decrease into that row, a row of non-decreases, and then a decrease into the next row. So since I ended over here, I'm going to be starting my row with a decrease of 2 front post single crochets, and then do my front post single crochets going all the way down. But if some of you guys ended on this side, that's totally fine. Just go all the way down, putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 2, and then do a decrease into those 2, and then just alternate between a row of decrease and not decrease all the way down until we hit our stitch marker. So I'm just going to be showing you guys how to do our decreases just one more time, and then I'll let you guys have at the rest. So just doing our decreases together, some of you guys may be starting it off like me, or some of you guys may have had to go down with a front post single crochet until you just had 2 posts left. But either way, it's going to be the same. So we're going to be inserting our hook behind that next post that we have. There's our first post, and then also behind our next post that we have right after that as well. We should have 2 posts on our hook. From here, we're going to yarn over, pull through those 2, yarn over, pull through 2 with a single crochet. And then from here, we're just going to be putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch, going all the way down, and then alternating between a row of decrease and not decrease. I'll meet you guys back once we make it all the way down to our stitch marker. So we are back, and we have just made our way all the way down the main body portion, doing our sleeve where we did a decrease into every other row. And now we have hit our stitch marker, which is right where our underarm portion is. And from the stitch marker going all the way down, we're just going to go in with a decrease into every single row into the stitches that's right next to the base. And you guys already know how to do all this, so I will just let you guys have at it from there. Once we don't have any more loops left, I'll meet you guys back so that we can go in with a seam and then our cuff. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with the entirety of our sleeve, and what we're going to do next is just seam everything up. The first thing that we're going to want to do is to make sure that everything is flipped wrong side out so that all of our seams are facing the same direction, and I did flip mine upside down as well just so that it's easier to go in with the seam. So we're just going to do the first few together because it is going to be exactly the same way that we did this underarm seam right here. So making sure that our work is flipped along the right side, we are going to be inserting our hook into the first available loop into the front panel, and then into the first available loop into the back panel, and then we are going to single crochet everything together. And that is it. We're going to keep doing this, going all the way down. Once we reach the end, I'll meet you guys back so that we can go into the cuff. If you guys are going in this way, go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then reattach your yarn onto the outside. And now that we have just seamed up our side, what we're going to do from here is just go along with a row of single crochet along the outside so that we can get started on our cuff. But this is actually going to help us cinch in our cuff just a little bit. So all we're going to do is go in with a row of single crochet, making sure we're going into every other side single crochet row. So how we're going to get started with this is by doing a chain up of 1. And then from here, we're going to pick either the raised side single crochet rows or the side single crochet rows that go inside. I'm just going to go into the ones that divot in because that is the one that's closest to my hook currently. So we're just going to find that top loop and single crochet into there, skip this raised one or whichever one you're skipping, go into that next divot, find that top loop and single crochet. We're just going to keep doing this going all the way around. So now that we've gone in with our single crochet row, next we're going to go in with a chain that is the length that we want our cuff to be. And I want my cuff to be a total of 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. So I'm going to start off by making a chain of 14. And now that we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is go in with something that we are very familiar with, is slip stitches. So we're going to block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1, and then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to go in with a slip stitch. So go ahead and insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through everything on our hook. And go ahead and go all the way down, putting 1 slip stitch into every stitch. And now that we've made our way all the way down with our slip stitch row, what we're going to do from here is slip stitch it into the base, and then we can get started on the rest of our cuff. So all we're going to do is slip stitch it into that next available stitch. So we're just going to yarn over and pull through everything. And now this first row is nice and attached. And just to work our way up to the next row, we're going to insert our hook into that next stitch, yarn over, pull through everything, flip our work, and then we're going to do more rows of slip stitches, but this is going to be back loop slip stitches to give us some stretch for our cuff. So into this first back loop, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, and pull through everything. Next back loop, yarn over, pull through everything. And we're going to keep doing this going all the way down. Once we make it to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then maintain doing back loop slip stitches while maintaining the same way that we inserted it into the base as well. So go ahead and keep doing that going all the way around. I'll meet you guys back once we don't have any more loops left so that we can seam it all up together. So we have just made our way all the way around with our cuff, and now we're ready to seam it up. We're just going to talk you guys through it because it's going to be exactly the same way that we have seamed up everything so far. The only prep that we need to do right before we get started is just make sure that all of our seams are faced along the same section. And what we're going to do from here is just insert our hook into both of the corner loops, and then we're going to single crochet, making sure we're going in through the front panel and the back panel at the same time. We're going to keep doing that so we don't have any more loops left to go into. Once we don't have any more, we're going to do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we're going to do this entire sleeve sequence one more time on the other side. So we are back and we have just finished up going in with both of our sleeves, and what we're going to do next is go in with our front border. We are going to have a bottom border as well, but they're going to be made into two pieces. So getting started on this front border, we're all going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out and it's faced up towards us, and we're all going to get started along the corner that is on the bottom right. So we're going to first insert our hook into that corner stitch, insert our yarn onto our hook, and we're going to start off by making a chain that is the size that we want the front border to be. And I want mine to be roughly an inch or 3 centimeters, so I'm going to start off by making a chain of 5. Once when we have our chain, what we're going to do from here is block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1, and then we're going to go in with a row of single crochets. So we're going to single crochet into that chain that we blocked off with a second chain from our hook. And once we have our single crochet, we're going to go all the way down, putting 1 single crochet into every chain that we have. And then we are going to slip stitch it into the same corner loop that our work is currently into, because we need this to maintain its slant. So go ahead and go in with your row of single crochet, and then I'll meet you guys back just to show you guys where to insert your hook. So we've just gone down with our row of single crochet, and what we're going to do is slip stitch it into that same loop that our work is currently coming out of. So we're going to find that same loop, insert our hook, yarn over, and pull through everything, and now our first row is nice and connected. From here we are going to slip stitch up to the next available loop, going up our work. So we're going to slip stitch into there, flip our work, and we're going to do more front post single crochets just like how we did for the body. So I'm not going to show you guys how to do that, but once we make our way down to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then put 1 front post single crochet into every stitch that we have going back down. And then for this next row, which should be our third row, we're going to slip stitch it into that same loop that we just went into just now, just to maintain that little slant that we have, and then from there everything else is going to be completely normal. So work your way down with front post singles, do a chain up of 1, work your way back down with front post singles, and then I'll meet you guys back. And we are now back with our third row, and we are going to slip stitch it into that same loop that our second row is coming out of. So it is this loop right here, there's something in it. We're just going to insert our hook into there, yarn over, pull through everything, and then from here everything else is going to be normal. So we're going to slip stitch up the next available loop, yarn over, pull through everything, flip our work, and then go down, putting 1 front post single crochet into every stitch, work our way back down with another row of front post single crochet. We're going to slip stitch it into the next available loop into the base, and then just continue doing that, going all the way up until we reach this corner, because we are going to need to make it curve. So I'll meet you guys back once we get somewhere near this top corner. So we are back, and what we're going to do is actually do 1 more row of our front post single crochets right before we start going along the back portion, but we do need this to start to curve. So what we're going to do is just insert our hook into that loop that's right in between our single crochet that we did for the back panel and the front panel. There's not going to be a real defined loop for us, so we're going to have to find it. Then we're going to insert our hook into there, and then from there go in with our front post single crochet row, and then from there just go straight into doing the back. So let's just do this side together, and then I'll let you do the other side on your own, and then I'll meet you guys back at the bottom corner for the other side. So now that I am here, I have ended along the base side of my front border. If you guys end up here, go ahead and just work your way back down, because we all need to start along this side. And all I'm going to do is find that middle stitch that I have in between my 2 single crochet rows, and I'm going to slip stitch into there, yarn over, pull through everything, and then I'm going to go in with my front post single crochets just like normal. So now that we have made our way back down with our front post single crochet row, now we are going to slip stitch it into the first available loop that we have into the back piece. So all I'm going to do is just open up my cardigan just a little bit, and I'm going to take a look at this first available loop that we have into the back piece, and we're going to slip stitch it into there. Now that is nice and secured, now we can go in with the same rows that we were doing for this front border right here, just going across the back. And then once when we have that, we're going to do the same thing that we just did here into this corner, over into this corner. And then I'll meet you guys back at the end of this side of our front border so that we can continue to do our slant, and then we can do the back piece, and then we'll be all done. So we are back, and we have just finished up going in with the entirety of our front border. As you guys can see, I have already done my chain up of 1 and cut. And I just wanted to remind you guys what we were doing into this bottom corner. So we did our front post single crochet rows going all the way down until we had just these 2 loops left, because we were going to do 2 rows into each of those last 2, just like how we started this off with. So the 4th and 3rd to last row went into that 2nd to last loop that we had, and then our 2nd to last row and our last row went into that last stitch that we had over here. Once when I had that in place, I did a chain up of 1 and cut, and then now we can get started on the bottom border. So when it comes to doing the bottom border, this first row is going to be fairly easy. What we're going to do is first take our 4mm hook and then insert that into this corner loop. Once when we have that, we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook and pull through, and then we're just going to go all the way around the bottom until we hit this next corner, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch or into every side single crochet row that we have, and then I'll meet you guys back once we get to this corner. So we have just finished up going in with our first row of our bottom border, and now it's just a single crochet row. And what we're going to do from here is what we've been doing for the entirety of the project so far. We're just going to go back and forth with rows of front post single crochets until we get the bottom border length that we want. So I'm going to keep going, and then once when I have mine all finished up, I'll meet you guys back just to let you guys know the length and then also how many rows I went in with. Alright, so we are back, and I have just finished up going in with my bottom border, and I just went in with a total of 2 rows. And I already did my chain up of 1 and cut, and we are actually all finished up. The last thing that we have to do is just weave in all of our ends. Now that we've woven in our ends, this is our finished cardigan. This cardigan is pure perfection. It's a subtle little piece, and it's great to throw over anything you guys have. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us what your favorite sport is and why. Good luck to everyone who enters. Also, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, because believe it or not, it really helps. And be sure to share us on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. Links down below. And link to our Etsy page is down there too if you want to buy this piece or any other piece on the channel. Be sure to favorite the shop so you don't miss out on new patterns and exclusive deals. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around to the end of the video, and I'll see y'all in the next one.